off, congratulations to each and every one of you that were baptized and are confirmed. So out of us we have Yuka, you were baptized, eh? Yeah, so stand up. Eh? Yeah, good job. Anybody else in here right now that was baptized? Okay, so congratulations. What was your name?
My name is Wang Chuo.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right, and then we have our confirmed. Okay, so I have some stuff that I'd like to present for those of you that were confirmed today. So I'm going to read off the verse. So each of you will receive books, right? We gave you the books upstairs. And so those books, I went out and I was just kind of trying to seek out which book would be appropriate for you. And so I spent like probably a good hour and a half looking through a bunch of books. I don't think I've spent that much time in Logos bookstore. But I just spent a whole bunch of time going through all these books. And I was asked like probably, I don't know, 10 times, "Sir, do you need help finding anything?" And finally, some of my friends that were working at Logos too recognized me, and then they were just like, "Oh yeah, he's just looking around." So they left me alone, and I just was able to kind of look through all these different books. And so hopefully, whether you read them right away or whether you read them down the line, hopefully when you go through the books, it'll really be something that ministers to you and blesses your heart, and something that will be helpful to you as you walk along with Christ. So I'm going to read off the verse that we wrote inside of your book for each one, and then as I read that off as well, I'm going to then call you up here, and then I'm going to give you, we have it's a CD of Christmas music, okay? So it's just kind of marking the season, so you'll be able to go ahead and pop that in your CD player and listen. And then I was thinking to myself, some of you guys probably don't even have a CD player or know what a CD player is, because everything is MP3 digital music. So pop it into your computer, and then you can rip the music to your computer.
Whose is that?
Okay. And then also, if you don't have a CD drive in your computer, get it to someone that does. Okay. So first off, I'm going to actually read off Angela's one. So Angela wrote the verse, Proverbs 31:19-20. She puts her hand to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. And so as we've gone through the class with Angela, and as we were getting to know Angela, and as I read her testimony and all of these different things, and I was going, okay, God, what would be something that we could present to Angela? What would be a verse that we could present to her? And so that took mind. And so that was the verse that we wrote for you, and then we also got you the book Get Out of the Pit by Beth Moore. And so Beth Moore is a wonderful writer and also a speaker. So hopefully that will be a blessing to you. And so Angela, here you go. And then next we have Kate. And so for Kate, we got the book called Anything, and actually it talks about how life sometimes can come very quick and fast, and sometimes a lot of the things that we go through are so flashy before us. And we're kind of at that age where life will start to come quicker and quicker. And so it really just speaks of how do we deal with life when that happens and when that occurs. And so the writer of that book actually writes really well into that because she experienced that herself and kind of went through that. And so the verse that we had chose for you was Proverbs 31:30, and that is, "Charm is deceitful and beauty is in vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." And so that's something, especially as we got to spend time with Kate on the mission trip, and then also as she's helped out with things like organizing the homeless feeding with Christina folks, and the different things within our youth. That's something that came to mind as I was thinking of Kate, that as you go through your school years, you will have so many things coming at you. but to remember that it's really the fear of the Lord that's really going to propel you and take you to the places that you're going to be going. So we'll bring Kate up here. So. And then our last female of the group, Ariel. So Ariel, we got the book Jesus Prom, and I thought it was a fun title, and it piqued my interest. And so that's a book really about loving God and loving others, and how that orchestrates and how that comes together and stuff. And so as I thought of Ariel, and as I'm continually getting to know Ariel, because she's now part of our praise teams as well, and get to spend time and get to know her. It's been a fun, short journey so far, and I look forward to the upcoming years as well. But Proverbs 31:25-26 comes to mind for Ariel, and so that one says, "Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue." And so, as you deal with people, as you deal with others, I know you can be very harsh sometimes with your brother, but also, dealing with others, really the heart of wisdom that comes before you, and the kindness that you can speak to others is really a cherished aspect for yourself and to others. And so, Ariel, you come on up. Franklin's already gone, so I'll give Franklin his later. Let's see, we have Yuka, and that's for baptism. So with Yuka, we had to make sure that he had a Bible, so he already had a Bible. And so I had gotten you a book called Jesus Without Borders. And that book really talks about how Jesus, within all the different cultures that we see around the world, how Jesus is real and active within all of these different cultures. And so it was something that really portrayed something for someone that is new to the faith and walking into baptism, and that they can see Jesus not just through one scope and one view here within our church, but how they can see that God is real and active within our church and then also outside of these walls as well. And so I told him, I know I'm challenging you because the book is all in English, and he said, I know, you got that for me, and it's only English, and so I believe that you will only get better at English. And for those of you that don't know, Yuka volunteers for so many different things within our youth, whether it's being active in our games that we do, or even when I asked for a Bible reader one of the weeks in service, he actually came up and he was a reader. And so as much as he thinks he struggles with English, I'm really blessed by his heart that really just desires to go after God and is really serious about it. So I'm very grateful for you, Yuka, and the verse that I have chosen for you is 2 Timothy 2:22. So flee youthful passions and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Okay, so Yuka. I would hug the guys too, but I don't think they really want to. All right. The next one is Jeremy still here? Oh, there we go. Okay, so you're all excited. I was going to have you speak. Okay, but as we continually get to know Jeremy, I think the first memory that I have of Jeremy, in fact, I know my first memory of Jeremy, is that I came to youth, and then we were doing these activities, and we had everybody present something, and Jeremy was the one that presented it like he was a politician. And so he had this whole elaborate thing, and everybody just was like, Jeremy for mayor, because he was just so, he was thinking of how to fix the school systems and how to fix, like he just had all of these elaborate explanations and everything. But as I continually get to know Jeremy, and as I read your testimony, as we talk through the different things in class as well. Even just the simple, genuine questions of heart of, like, okay, tell me seriously, what is the Holy Spirit? Like, who is the Holy Spirit? And genuine question like that, it's helpful and it's good, and I can see that you do want to go further in your walk and in your faith. And so the verse that God brought to mind for you was Isaiah 41:10. And so it's, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And so the book that we had chosen for you is by Max Lucado, and he's actually from San Antonio, and he is a wonderful children's writer, but also just a wonderful writer at heart. And the book that we chose was entitled "You'll Get Through This." And so hopefully it's a great support to you, and it's something that you will be able to read and work through as well. So, Jeremy, come on up. All right, and next up we have one of our favorite characters, Mr. Little D, Daniel Huang. And so, Daniel is someone that, as he continued, when he first came in, he was very quiet, and he just attached himself wherever Alex went. And so wherever Alex went, he would go. And so if I ever needed to find Daniel, I just looked for where Alex was, I would find Daniel. Okay, and so I know when Alex went off to college that Daniel was really sad. Okay, but at the same time, that's really when Daniel started to open up, and I was able to kind of get to know him a little bit more for himself and who he is, and he started to attach himself. Now you can find him whenever you want to find Daniel. Just look for either Joseph or Jeffrey or Daniel Dai or Samuel. Yeah, Samuel is his favorite teddy bear because they love hugging each other and carrying each other. Whenever Daniel needs to be carried somewhere, Samuel will carry him to the ends of the earth and back. Yeah. So, and they always sit next to each other. Yeah. As much as they say that they don't like each other or they're irritated by each other, Daniel will always sit next to Samuel. Whether it's in the front row over here or whether it's in the back, they'll always be sitting together. And then sometimes Jeffrey will have to tell them, "You guys just be quiet." And then they're like, "Oh, okay." And then, yeah. So anyways, it's always a joy and fun to see Daniel continuing to grow. And so the verse that I had selected for you was Matthew 6:21. "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And so there are a lot of passions and a lot of things that are going to be stirred up within your heart, Daniel, as you continue to grow and continue to go along. There are so many different thought processes that will run through your mind, whether they are jokingly, whether they are serious. But just remember that where your heart is really where you're going to propel yourselves. And so in a similar fashion, as we focus in on God and as we focus in on Him, then we'll really start to see where God's taking us. And so that's my hope and prayer for you. And the book that we had gotten for you is Life Is, and it's a blank statement. And so it's really, how am I going to fill that blank? How am I going to fill that statement? But the book just runs you through all of these different things of how the statement can be filled, of what life is. And like I told you when I gave you the book, I think it's a really special book. And I looked at the cover and I was like, I think Daniel will like this because it's very colorful, and the guy looks, if you look at the author, Judah Smith, he looks very interesting. Like, just look at his picture and it's just like, he seems like an interesting guy. So I thought that you would enjoy it just by seeing who he was, and then also seeing his writing. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as you read that too. But Daniel, come on up. Too bad Samuel wasn't here. He would have probably sat right next to you and gave you a hug. Right?
I don't like it.
But you're smiling the whole time. All right. Okay, so the next person we have up is Maxwell. Is Maxwell still here? Okay, so Maxwell, so I'm going to get Maxwell. We have Brandon still here. Brandon? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Brandon. For Brandon, he's also one that I continue to get to know as we do our worship ministries and as he's jumped onto praise team. And Brandon's the very one that I put him on praise team, but then I don't put him on enough praise teams, so he actually asks me to be on more praise teams. And then I have trouble actually getting him onto more praise teams. So it's a nice problem to have because some of the other ones I put on too many praise teams. And then here I have Brandon. Brandon will play his violin, and we don't make it easy for him either because he'll come and he'll ask for the music. We give him the music, and then it's not in the style or the way that he's been trained or knows. So we challenge him to be able to make it his own. And Brandon, without flinching, will always just start to take it in and try to understand it. And he'll have people like Eleanor and Deborah kind of helping him, walking him through. And I feel like sometimes they almost take the violin away from him and try to show him the stuff, and he just kind of, okay, I'll take my violin back. But he's so nice and kind about it. But he's also very, behind just music, very talented with computers and that aspect. And so I always tell him that, you know, in the future we'll have him make software for us within the church and stuff, and so that he can help with our security systems and all this kind of stuff. But really as a fun thing, because as Brandon has already pointed out, he doesn't want to do it as a job. So it's really a joy to kind of get to know you more and more, Brandon, because I know that you're always thinking, whether it's within a youth group on Saturday and we're watching a video, or whether it's on Sunday morning, or whether it's in the confirmation classes. I know that you're always processing and you're thinking on how it all pieces together, because the way that you're kind of built is geared like how I think of computers and how I used to be with that. So it's always fun to see that kind of going off in your head. And so continue that and continue that aspect. And so the verse that I'd chosen for you was 2 Corinthians 4:16-18. So we do not lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For the light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but things that are unseen are eternal. And so the book that I had chosen for you was a book called Let Hope In. And it really just, the reason why God showed me that, and also the verse for you, is that sometimes as we walk through life and when things are still so undecided and we don't really know where all these things fit, and yet at the same time you have so many things in front of you and also so many of the gifts and talents, but you just don't know how to piece them together. Sometimes we can get frustrated. And so with that, hopefully the verse and also the book will help you to piece together some of those things and see that God's not leaving you out on a limb, that He's not going to show you some of these things if you open your eyes to Him and continue to look to Him and see Him. So hopefully that'll be of enjoyment to you. So Brandon, come on up here. Oh, we have our other musician, Brandon's teacher, Enze. And so, for those of you that don't know who Enze is, Andrew. And I thought it was interesting, even in today's bulletin, if you look at the bulletin, on the back it says Enze is getting confirmed, and on the inside it says that Andrew is playing music. And so you have dual personality wherever you go. You have Andrew and Enze kind of going on 2 and 2. But for Enze, I really got to know him more when we went on our senior trip last year. And so it was really a joy to get to know him because, one, I felt sorry for him because George Liu continued to smother him every single moment that he could, because George just looks at Enze and he goes, he doesn't fight back. And so, you know, George will just continue to smother him and go, wow, it's like having a brother that doesn't fight back, you know. And so no matter how many times Enze would tell him stop or whatever, you know, he just continued to take it with a smile. And I go, man, something interesting about this guy, because one, I know that he's he's also always thinking, and he has these things going on within his head, and yet he's very silent, he's very quiet. And then he would start to speak more and talk more, and then I got to know him. And really, it's a joy to talk to him because he has so many interests and so many things that are going for you. And like I told you, the book that I chose for you is interesting, but it's also a mix because of the field that I really see you going into, and I know that you're interested in. And so the book that we actually chose for you was called Letters from the Land of Cancer. And so it's actually from a patient who's dealing with cancer. He's writing these letters, and it just kind of gives you a perspective of what he was going through and how all of these different things are setting in. And at the same time, as someone that may be going into the med field or whatnot, it's to kind of have that perspective and see that all these people that you may be dealing with, and also seeing the polar scopes of how hope doesn't have to escape in all those situations, and how God is able to come into all those situations and still pull through. And so hopefully it'll be something, like I said, you probably read it on the plane and you'll be done with it by the time you get back to Duke. But the verse that we had chosen for you is 1 Chronicles 16:11. Seek the Lord and His strength, seek His presence continually. And so that's something that I know as one that will always be thinking, and you're always processing, and you're always thinking, how do these things line up? How do these things work out? That would be my prayer and my hope for you, is that you continue to seek His presence continually, that you always go after it, because He will reveal more and more of Himself to you, and He'll show you the things. And we need great thinkers within the world, within the secular fields. And so if you go into the med field, whatever field you go into, to have a great thinker that will process that and then be able to pull that forward. We need those guys. And so I definitely see that in you, and so that's our hope and prayer. And so Anze, why don't you come on up? All right, and let's get we have the best friends left. So David and Jonathan, right? And so David, we'll start off with David. David, we got you the book called "What Keeps You Up at Night," and so it's really the aspect of just all of these things that are kind of going through, and sometimes we can lose heart in a sense as we're walking with Christ. But all of the different things that are going on in that book will hopefully give you things that will shed light onto some of your situations, and things that you may struggle with, not right now, but maybe in a little while or down the road, and how God will pull you through those moments. And so it'll be there's a lot of good gems and things within that book, and hopefully there'll be a blessing to you. And as we were sharing last night too, I stood next to David in our little circle as we were sharing and whatnot. But one thing with David is I appreciate how he's willing to serve in all of these different areas where I put him in. So I put him in the games department. And originally I had put him in games because I know that if I put him and Sharon on games, then they can work together as a good team, because Sharon's good at like corralling the people, and then David's good because he has a lot of these ideas. Because whenever I ask Sharon for a game, she'll go, oh, there's this really good game. David, what was that game? And then David will come up with the game, and then Sharon will be able to share what the game is. And so they work as a good tandem. But it was really great because now we get to see, especially after CEF, more of David coming out, where we put him on the spot and we say, okay, David, you run the game. And I know that that's not where David wants to be, because he'll be like, I go, David, okay, you're on up now. And then he goes, okay, good. Okay, so and he's holding the mic so far away, and you can tell he really doesn't want to be on up here. But the more that he's laughing because he knows that it's true. But the more that he does it, the more comfortable he gets with it. And whether or not he completely gets comfortable with it, I just appreciate the fact that he's willing to step out and he's willing to showcase to not only his brothers and sisters, but also his peers. That, you know what, even if we're not in the most comfortable setting of where our strengths may be, that he's able to go ahead and use it to glorify God. And so I'm continually grateful for how you are faithful to the things that we've asked you for and help us with. And so, David, we gave you the verse, Psalms 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? And so as you go through that book, as you continue to read through Scripture, as you continue to walk with Christ, just really to know who your stronghold is, and that you really have nothing to fear. That even as you go through the struggles, as you go through decision-making processes like we talked about with some of these other peers of yours, that you will be able to look to him and know that he will not forsake you, that he is someone that's worthy of being a stronghold in your life, and that he'll pull you through. Okay, so David, let's bring you on up here. And rightfully so, stick around here for peace. And that leaves us with our baby. Of course, you don't want to be called a baby, right? But you will always be the baby. All right, so we have Jonathan, and Jonathan he's always a joy for myself, because John has these serious conversations for a young person. Like, he'll always have these serious, he has a serious face at times when he's conversing with me. Like, he can also be a little kid and laugh like how he's laughing right now, but at the same time, he can have like these really discerning looks, and the way that he'll just talk to you, and he'll just have like these really serious conversations about even the most random things. I think one time we were talking about chickens on Hawaii and how Grace was catching them, and so we're just talking about these moments, and Jonathan's really serious about this conversation, and then he'll laugh about certain moments of it, and then he'll go, okay, now moving on, he asks a whole other question, and then it's more like about a Bible question, and I'm like, how do we move from chickens to the Bible? But that's how Jonathan works, and it's a wonderful thing to see within young life, that you're able to take your childhood and at the same time not only see the faith of your parents or your siblings before you, but that you really are thinking this through and trying to figure out, how is this faith my own? And how is this faith really who I am and what I believe? Because it's enough pressure when you have parents that believe. And then if you have brothers and sisters and you've got 3 before you, and you're thinking through, well, how is the God of my parents, how is the God of my brothers and sisters really my God? And I think for you to be able to think through these things and ask the questions that you ask and process, I think it's a wonderful thing that I see in you. And I would say never give that up. Never feel like that's a bad thing, what you're doing, because what you're doing is really a great thing, and it's a wonderful thing. It's what I love about talking with you, because I know I can talk about really silly things, and we can just joke about stuff, and at the same time I know I can talk to you and ask you about other questions, about how the world works. And I think we've had discussions where we ask things of, what do you think about the Starbucks red cup, or what do we think about this issue, or what do we think about that issue? And Jonathan will always have these really, like, I would have never thought a 12-year-old coming up with those responses or those answers. One of his responses to the issues of how do you know that God is God? And we asked this question like, it was months and months ago. But we asked this question, and one of Jonathan's responses was that if God were not God, why would he choose Israel? Because Israel is this tiny, small little place. Why not choose a bigger country? Why not choose a place that was more affluent, and it went off the map at one point, but then it came back. And now Israel's back, and and I'm going, man, this guy, 12 years old, that's your response. That's a wonderful response to how do you know that God is God? Because, yeah, seriously, why would God choose Israel if that wasn't the case? You know, because it's really something that just causes you to think and makes you kind of go deeper. So I thought that response in itself showed me that you thought beyond just Sunday school answers. Well, let me give you this verse or this and this and this. But it's just really, how am I processing this? What are the things that I've learned, and how do I know these things? And so I really appreciate that about you. And the verse that I gave for you is Exodus 15:2. The Lord is my strength and my song, and He has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise Him, my Father's God, and I will exalt Him. And so, like I said, because you have so many people going before you, the book that I chose for you as well is Growing Pains. And Growing Pains is really a book about this son, and he had a father that was deep within the faith. And he basically runs this interview with the father, and how God becomes his own God is really the story of this book. And so as you look through that book and as you go through that book, hopefully maybe there will be some things that you'll run into that go, you know, I've actually felt the same thing too, or I felt the same way as well. And hopefully it'll be of encouragement to you, and it'll continue to propel great questions from you. And so, Jonathan, why don't you come on up? All right. Let's get all of you guys on up here. All of you that have been confirmed. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody else come on up to the front, let's say like the front 3 or 4 rows. And then we'll get you as close to these people as possible. We don't want to make them too nervous. I don't want you guys to be too close. But I'll pray over them, and if you guys can extend your hand in support and just pray with us and pray blessing over them as well. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for each and every one that is up here. We also pray for those that have already gone back home for the day because they had other things that they had to tend to, Lord God. But Lord, we thank you for the blessing that was today, Lord God. And I was even thinking back to how memorable it'll be, because we will remember that the day that we were baptized and confirmed was the day that the power went out in our church. And so it's just something that gives us a marker and something that we can remember back to, Lord God. And I just know that as the lights came back on, and as all of these things came back together, Lord God, we could not only see that we could walk through the moments of darkness in that sense, but that we could also see that your faithfulness of your light will always prevail. That you will not leave us to be on our own in the darkness, Lord God, but that you will walk us through, and that you will bring us into the light. And I thought that was a beautiful picture that you provide for us, even in something as simple as the power going out and coming back on. And Lord, I thank you for each and every one of these individuals up here. I thank you for Daniel, I thank you for Jeremy, I thank you for Brandon, I thank you for Yuka, I thank you for Angela, I thank you for Kate, thank you for Ariel, Andrew, or otherwise known as Enze, and David, and Jonathan. I thank you for each and every one of their lives, and how you walked them through to this very point, and how you will be faithful to them even from this point forward. as they laid their lives before you and said, I desire to go after you. And so as we recognize within the classes, Lord God, that your baptism and that even this confirmation, Lord God, is really a change of directions within our hearts, Lord God. That from a standpoint of where we were walking in the ways of ourselves, or even when we were just walking in the ways of saying that it was our parents that made the decision for us, this here today is the decision of, I am making the decision that I'm going to follow you, my Lord, my Savior, my God. And so, Lord, as each one takes their steps and goes after you, I pray that as the obstacles come up, as the trials come before them, Lord God, that they would be able to see you, their stronghold, never fading, never leaving, but that they would know that they can continue to hold on to you, even when the waves rise and even when the storms come, that they know that they will not drown, that they will not sink, because you are faithful and you will carry us through. I thank you, and we praise you, Lord God, for the wonderful thing that we got to witness today, and the wonderful things that we'll get to witness in each and every one of these lives here, moving forward. We thank you and we praise you in your person's holy name we pray. Amen. All right, let's give them a hand. All right, and I'll come on. That's it. That's all I have. Have a great day and a Merry Christmas.